Karlee. I love what you're doing with your somatic experiencing and trauma work with people. And I'm really happy to dive into this conversation because I feel like this is just something that's coming up more and more. People are facing these things, facing these traumas, understanding that there's something hooking them and holding them back. And I'm hoping, Karlee, let's just start. I would love for you to tell us how you got into this work. Like what was it that drove you to do this training in your own life? You must have had your own trauma.
Oh
right?
boy, I didn't know we were starting with this just right from the get-go. Well, yes. And I think that's why I wrote a book, so I wouldn't have to talk about it so much. But no, I'm super happy to. Yes, so I had a traumatic experience. Without going into too many details, let's say it this way. About 10 years after a traumatic event, symptoms came up. So I was unaware that something big and major had happened. And I think I've seen a couple types of people in life. Some people are super aware and I'm like, whoa, that is so awesome. And others aren't. That was me. Yeah. So when I got triggered, that's a really good word. I feel like a lot of people know that word. I was having really bad triggers, and I can go into more details, you guide me, but to keep it simple, the triggers were so big and I hid them because that was my pattern of just making everything okay. Mm-hmm. And when the pain got so big, so pain is our friend. I love teaching this. Mm-hmm. Pain, like anxiety, pain, it is not bad. It is our signal to go within. There's gold there, but we're not taught that. So yeah, you feel that?
We're taught to run from it. We're taught to like, oh no,
yes.
I'm not dealing with that, right? Yeah, yes. Just move away from it. Yeah.
And I first started studying neuro-linguistic programming with my mom. It's, you know, it's what Tony Robbins does. A lot of people know that about that. And that tool was amazing. I had that even before trauma. It was to go, well, I'll rephrase that in a moment. It's just to go within and start to talk to those parts of you, because there's a signal and there's a gift. And I had that tool my whole life, which was beautiful. It got me out of a lot of unhealthy situations. When I went into my solar plexus, asked, what is this showing me? And it was always to protect yourself. And then I'd wake up the next morning and be whoever I was in a relationship with and be like, bye. And the anxiety went away. And I was like, what? This is amazing. I'm kind of going on a tangent here, but is this making sense?
Absolutely. I mean, it was your own journey that brought you to sharing this work with others. And, you know, I love what you're talking about, because we can find these similarities between all these different practices. I'm, for example, in hypnosis, doing inner child work or parts therapy to see like, how is this serving you, or who do we need to go and talk to? Like, who from your childhood needs love and needs to be understood and needs to be told, like, it's not your fault.
Yes.
Like, you got the shitty end of a stick. Like this isn't your fault, and let me kind of reparent you in this moment. It sounds a little bit like what you're doing, and maybe you could tell people like what is your work? How do you help people access? Yeah.
Well, so to finish answering your first question, I had that tool, but then I had such big triggers, that tool wasn't enough. So I decided to take a somatic experiencing training. It was a 3-year course. So first I went to mini therapies. I got a lot of tools and I was like, okay, this is not getting to the root of what's wrong with me. I didn't even know those words back then. I just knew I wasn't going to live the way I was with the symptoms I had. And maybe I should be more clear about that. Panic attacks, anxiety, numb, terrified. I was like, what the hell is wrong with me? So I didn't even know I had trauma. I was like a deer in the headlights. And I finally broke down a couple times. I couldn't hold that anymore. And I started crying on the phone with a couple different people that knew me, friends. And they said, it sounds like you have PTSD. I said, what is that? I've only heard about that from war veterans. I Google it. I buy a book. I'm like, this is amazing. Holy crap. Are we allowed to swear on here? Holy shit. I need this. So it felt really good to have a label for the first time in my life, because I wasn't going insane. And then I had a belief right away. I said, I will not let this label define me. Maybe I have complex PTSD. And just to let everybody know, so they're probably wondering, I had some violence in my life, which is, I know, hard to hear. So I won't go into that. And again, that's why I wrote about it, because I wanted people to know if I could overcome these symptoms, they could. So at that time, though, and tell me if this is making sense, I didn't equate the violence I'd been through to my symptoms. Because I think Oprah said this, you don't know what you don't know.
Yeah.
So I was pregnant at the time. So this is, remember, 10 years after the traumatic event that I'm talking about. So being pregnant triggered all those hormones, lack of sleep, triggered my symptoms. It was a good thing, even though I was in so much pain. So instead of just going to get more therapy, I said, I'm enrolling in a course. I'm not just going to work on myself. I'm going to get trained to know what to do, because I can't live this way. So that 3-year training included, you have to do so many hours on yourself to become a trauma practitioner, which is what I am.
Yeah. And is that training with Peter Levine, or what was the organization? Okay.
I did his work, and he had other psychologists that taught his modules. He has a lot of teachers under him. So I feel like I got a really amazing training, because I had different teachers. It's 3 years, like I said, and it was in different locations. I moved around. You don't have to. So I had different psychologists that gave me different tools. So I really got an awesome end of the stick. I got more than I realized, and it changed my life. And when that happened, I was like, I've got to tell people they don't have to go on medication and talk about their problems for years. They can release this trauma.
That's when you know you've like struck gold, like you found something, and you just want to sing it out. You want to let everybody know, like sing it from the mountaintop.
Yes.
Like there is hope. Like, okay, so another question for you, being a professional in the realm of trauma. Say someone is just now realizing, like, oh gosh, like I have to open this up. I have to open up this Pandora's box. I find that people are generally pretty scared of that. Like they don't want to open it up. Like I have family members, there's, you know, those people, they're just like, I'm not going there. Like I'm good. And I'm thinking to myself, like, you're going to be taking this into the next life. Like if that's your spiritual orientation, if you believe in the soul is going to keep incarnating, like deal with it in this life. Like let's like do the work in this life to evolve. But okay, back to my question, Karlee.
No, this is a great question.
How would someone begin this process in an empowered way and not in a fearful way? Because like I said, fear is the number one thing I think holding people back from like looking at this.
Great question. I feel like I have 2 points. I'm not sure which one to say first. I'll just go with my first gut. I believe when your soul is ready, it's ready. So nothing will hold you back, no matter how terrified you were. And I think I'm a good example of that. Like even right now, as I say how terrified I was, I feel energy in my legs, in my stomach, and almost tears behind my eyes in a good way. Because here's a great thing to add to this. I created a belief. So if this helps other people, the fear of living the way I was bigger than facing the other fear. The fear of living with the symptoms I had was so much bigger than facing what your question was.
Yes.
So with that said, I think that's a soul thing. Like people can talk to their soul. Hey soul, like you said, Marissa, do you want to go in the next life with this, or can we do this? And then let me get to the point to answer your question. It doesn't have to be scary. And that's what I'm trained in. And that's why I love Peter Levine's work. He teaches us, you go to the, like, let's say this is your trauma ball of fear. We go to the edge. So when I start with people, people need to know this. And tell me if this answers your questions. We are not going straight into the trauma. You are not talking. You don't have to say anything. We're making space that you feel safe first. If that's sitting in a room with me, looking around the room, knowing that there's no fear in this moment. Now the nervous system will start going because it's clapping. It's going, yay, we get to work on this now. And that can feel stimulating. It's like, yes, I want to get this out. There's someone here to love me and hear me. So we want to reframe it. That's not fear. That's energy moving. And then to help with the other fear, it's, I don't have to, if I'm talking to the right person, I don't have to go relive my trauma and say it the way it happened. There is another way. That's what I do. Does that make sense?
Well, that makes sense. And what I'm hearing from that is that someone just needs to find the right person who is ready, who is trained, you have to be strong enough as a practitioner also to hold the space for people, is what I found being 7 years in practice. If I'm feeling emotionally low, if I'm not well, it's really hard for me to hold space and receive, receive the traumas, receive them as they come out. Right.
But I have another response for that. When I first, I think I know this was my ego, so I put my ego in check. When I first heard this course, I finished this 2013, just to give people's perspective, almost 10 years ago. So I've been doing this for 10 years, solid. Mm-hmm. When I finished my training 10 years ago, so 13 years ago, I started it, and I heard it's 3 years. I went, oh no, that's too long. I can get through this in 6 months. Why 3 years? It is so well designed because it regulates your nervous system so that when you hear, I'm like a vessel now, I'll hear other people's trauma. This blew me away. I'll have tears going down my face, feeling what they feel, but I'm solid. I'm okay because I had to heal my trauma first. Create that salt like a tree, just solid. So like if it rains or there's wind or snow, your tree is just gonna go through the weather, the storm. Sorry, I have an itch on my face. So that's a great, people with trauma want to help others because we really want to heal ourselves. So the moment I really felt healed, I remember saying to myself, oh, I don't need to help people anymore. Not because I didn't love people or want to help them. It's because I had my completion. And then from there is when I really started to help people.
Oh, so good.
Right?
It's so beautiful. And I remember the session that I had with you, Karlee.
Oh my God.
Do you remember I went to your beautiful, kind of like A-frame. I remember there being like A-frame structure to your house, and just had a beautiful somatic experience with you where I came to some pretty big life realizations in that session about, I think, quitting my job, that the job was not good. So not only are people facing their stuff, their traumas, big T or little t, but that work helps people, I believe, just come to conclusions, like for things that maybe they've been wrestling with, just to come, okay, my body is telling me this. My body holds this wisdom, right? I mean, isn't that's kind of like the basis of somatic experiencing, is that the body, this earthly vessel that houses our beautiful souls, this is where the wisdom is, not up here in the mind, but it's in the body.
I love the way you're saying that. And just to add to that, when to what you said, when we work it with the body and we get regulated, so there's tools for that, then the mind becomes clear. So the nervous system, the body and the brain are one. However, our neocortex, our frontal lobe, which is very good from getting to point A to B, what time you have to be somewhere, directions, that is good for that. It is not good for overanalyzing our emotional state. That's when we need to drop out of the head and do the nervous system work. Then the mind becomes more clear. Oh, this is why. Epiphany, aha, clear. Because I finally realized trauma is confusion. And healing trauma, regulating, is clarity. Oh my gosh, I learned that there. Oh, that's why I put up with that. Oh, I want to change that. Just beautiful unfolding.
Yeah.
And that's it. I completely forgot about that. I only remember I came to see you.
Yeah.
Thank you for reminding me. Yeah. So just even making space, big T or little t, it doesn't, trauma is not the event. This is what Peter Levine says. It's how we respond. So if something happens, gosh, I remember I left a yoga class one day and the lady at the front desk was rude to me. And because I do this work so much, my body doesn't let me get away with anything. I'm driving home in the car and I feel triggered. I was like, why was somebody at the front desk at a yoga studio short and cold to me? Yeah. And so I gave myself that completion work. What do I need to say? Do I want to call her and say, hey, are you okay? That didn't feel good. Or do I just need to say that to myself? This is just a little example of how I want people to know it's not just one big event. It can be something small. Anything that overwhelms you or irritates you. Yeah, are there any comments you need to look at, or I was just being mindful?
I don't think so. I'll be mindful of comments as they come along. If you see something, let me know. And if anyone who is listening has any comments or questions, please feel free to drop them in that box below. And Karlee, I'm wondering if you can touch on the subject of healing the nervous system. I mean, I feel like this is the basis of your work. It's the basis of my work also, because I had this deep realization years ago that we do not heal when we're in fight or flight. We do not heal in that high cortisol state. The healing only happens when we're in parasympathetic, when we're in that rest and relaxation. And I'm wondering if you can kind of explain how somatic experiencing kind of like ties into nervous system regulation, which also is getting like so much attention right now. Well-deserved attention, you know?
I love it.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. I love your questions. You're amazing. Wow. So clear. So I like to explain things as if I was in first grade or 6-year-old. Because when I was first learning this, people that are overwhelmed, it's very hard to learn. Not to overdo too much anatomy, but I know a little bit. The hippocampus in the brain, which processes information when we are in fight or flight. So I'm going to do it like a mountain, right? Somebody's coming at you to attack you, or you're getting ready to run a race. You go up the mountain, right? Mm-hmm. And when we get stuck at the top in fight or flight, and then we shut down, the hippocampus shrinks. So it's hard to process information. So I like to keep it simple. So let me know if it makes sense and it's simple. Mm-hmm. So to answer your question, when we go up the mountain and we get stuck in fight or flight, meaning we didn't come down the other side. So sympathetic is I'm going up, I'm charged up, I'm ready to fight, I'm ready to whatever the nervous system is saying. Now coming down would be, I got to fight back. I got to say what I wanted to. I finished giving that speech. Mm-hmm. It can be a good or a bad event, right? Either. Yeah. If we don't come down the other side, like you were saying, into parasympathetic, right? Where we're relaxed. So let me make sure I got this right. Your question is, healing happens in parasympathetic?
Yes.
So how do we get there? We got to get off the top of the mountain. That's what I specialize in. So if you don't come off the top of the mountain, that means you stay. Let's just make it easy. We stayed up there, it's snowing, we froze. We forgot to grab our backpack, food and water, and hike back down. Mm-hmm. So in order to do that, we need completion. What do we need to come down the mountain? So if you're, with my analogy, you would put on your backpack, your boots, you start walking down that mountain.
Yeah.
And in fight, flight, freeze response with the nervous system, it's completion. Okay. And that's the work I do. So if I don't know how to answer it or how many details to give, but it's basically completing that event because the nervous system doesn't know time. Mm. It's almost like animals and babies. Do animals and babies go, oh, it's 3 p.m. You haven't said I love you today? Or no, the second they see you, they're present and they want your love. Trauma I've seen is the same way. It wants your attention and it wants completion. What did I not get to do? What did I not get to say? What action, like you took, Marissa, I needed to leave that job and go over here. You came down the mountain.
I see, yeah.
So in order to come down the mountain, we need completion and we need tools and support to get there. I've seen we can't necessarily do it alone because think if you had the right tools and support when the trauma happened, you probably wouldn't be traumatized.
It's probably true. It's probably true if you had the support. Peter Levine also said something about, we are traumatized when we don't have someone like witnessing, when we don't have someone, I forget his quote, but it's something like that. Like a young child watching, an only child watching mom and dad like fight and yell at each other. There's no one there for that kid to bounce it off of or to be comforted by. And I thought that was just a beautiful analogy. And when we have someone like you, who can hold space as people are navigating this, and it's so exciting to me, Karlee, like, how many people are opening up to this idea of healing their trauma. Like I'm such a big fan of self-awareness and personal growth and like all those things. And I'm always very encouraging of everyone who I encounter to focus on your inner work, like, does that just bring you so much joy also to see your people healing from this?
Oh yeah. Yeah. You're bringing a tear to my eye just saying that. Yeah. And I understand now why God, the universe, whatever's out there, had me come from such a loving, beautiful family and experience such big trauma and how it all ties together. That it's not just, oh, I experienced a traumatic event. Even though my family is incredible and loving, you can have both. There's some families that are very abusive and people have trauma, and there's some families that are very loving and great and there's still trauma because there's patterns. We all have patterns we grew up with that maybe serve us or don't. So I had to find those patterns and look at why I drew in the traumas I did. Own it. I couldn't, no more blaming the other person. I drew that in because something wasn't clear in me that I learned, and I need to change that.
Oof. I love that idea of like ultimate self-responsibility, like truly taking responsibility for your life, for every aspect of it. I think that is so empowering, Karlee. And I love to help empower people. When we're empowered, we have the fortitude and we have the grit to keep moving forward and to keep going and to keep like shining our lights and like holding the light so that others can see their own light and open up and shine their light. So yeah, anyways.
Well, to add to that, here, this is a great little tip that I think is important. Like, let's say we're talking about an abuser and somebody taking it. It usually always is, or my thinking or what I've heard, the shift in people's consciousness is, it doesn't matter if one person is, we're just taking an example here, doing the abuse. And let's say the other person seems to be innocent and perfect. They're doing nothing. Fine, that person's abusive. However, what is this person's role that's taking it? So it does take two. I used to not quite understand that. It always takes two. It's not about right or wrong. It's about there's a behavior here and who's allowing it. And so when one person stops it, you help both people.
Yeah, I love that. I love that. It's so empowering. It really is. And Karlee, I would love for you to tell everyone who is listening live or listening to the replay, you have some stuff going on, right? Like
just a little.
You have a webinar. Am I correct that it's tomorrow?
Yes, I'm doing it.
Okay.
My first actual webinar live training. Yeah, you know, isn't timing, this goes in with our talk. Timing is everything. I've been wanting to do this for literally 9 years, this exact thing. And I realized, to go back to your first point, when we first started, if anyone's listening to this and is wondering why the timing in their life isn't right, I thought I was ready back then. And I actually said to my husband the other day, you know what? I think it's the reason why this is happening now is because I'm so much more aware, so much more regulated, so much more confident. So even if you think you know, do your best to just keep doing your work, and whatever that job is or whatever that mission is in life, whatever action, relationship, it doesn't matter. The time will be right. And if you're struggling with that, like literally, I wanted to do this for 9 years and everything unfolded, since August. I started really building all this in August. So yes, I have a webinar tomorrow. My first one, that's why I'm sharing that, because I've never, you know, technology and social media, that's not really my jam, but it is now.
You're getting there. You're getting there for sure. And the topic, can you tell us about the topic? It's like how to deal with holiday stress, how do you deal with your family? Because we all know that's like the #1 trigger. Right?
Well, actually, to be honest with you, it's more really everything we just talked about now. And I put it together in the Holden release method, which is an online course. Okay. So I'm explaining how people can do this from the privacy of their own homes. Okay. And yes, it includes my support as well. And that, the nuts and bolts of that is what helps you deal with holiday stress, because triggers happen over the holidays. So people need this now, right? Because, oh my gosh, I'm going to go see this person. How do I regulate? How do I get myself in a state of calm and not anger or irritation that's bubbling under there when I see someone?
Reactivity. So I thought,
I thought I wanted to do this before the holidays, and you know, I'll do something else around the new year, because but the holidays are big for people and they need that support.
For sure. And people just seem to be a little more on edge right now than normal. I'm not watching the news, but I'm just feeling it. I'm a feeler, and I can feel into the kind of collective consciousness. And I get that people are like hungover from all of this, like totally, you know, 2 years of being in lockdown and whatnot. But Karlee, I love that is like, I'm all about actionable steps.
Yes.
I'm not going to buy a program. I'm not going to do anything unless you're going to give me a blueprint. You're going to give me steps. Mm-hmm. I love those tools, and I love that your webinar is going into the Holden method, which is your method. These are your tools for dealing with the stress and the trauma and the triggers and the reactivity when it arises. So thank you.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. I just want people to know we did not script this talk. We went in this cold. I didn't know what you were going to ask me, and I love you. You're an incredible host. I love your questions. And yes, when I was making this course, like, this brings tears to my eyes, I was thinking, what would I have wanted? Because it's very stressful looking at this. So I made it as simple and kind and easy as possible, step by step, one thing at a time. And so you don't have to think, you just do. And that's my goal. So thank you for saying that. And I wanted to add one more thing I keep hearing. These times after COVID, people are saying so many of the people in the world have trauma. And I think that's surprising for me, because I think back in history, the wars, World War I, I mean, go back further. It's like we've always had trauma. However, I love that you're saying this, and I keep hearing this. People need this so much right now after what we've been through the last few years. This has been our current dilemma and war, and we need to just do us so we can handle the external, do the internal. That I feel like if we look at the external, we lose our sense of self, and we don't need to do that. The external we can't control. It is what it is. But if we shift, we will shift the external. We just have to do it on a mass level, people.
I love that. I love that. Yes. Yes. Do your inner work. All right. So my friend Chase, Audio Tactics. Hello. He's got a question. Can you read that on your screen, Karlee?
I don't see it. I don't see it on mine.
Okay. He's asking, does patience with actionable steps allow us to navigate more options for proper completion down the mountain?
Beautiful. Did he say patience?
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah,
absolutely. So, like, meaning, do you have to be patient with yourself?
I'm pretty sure that's what that means. Yeah.
Absolutely. Oh my gosh. Another great question. This work, what I noticed, if my anxiety was a 10, it immediately went to a 5. So I wanted it at a 0. However, I will take a 5, which kept me going, which developed my patience. Because yes, it's like you're coming down Mount Everest, but you're getting closer to the bottom. You keep going, it feels better and better. So I would like call my practitioners when I was in my training. I was like, I know we just had a session yesterday. Can I have one tomorrow? She's like, sure. I'm like, I was freaking rah. So I was patient and I worked hard, and it's the best work I ever did. It's not like hard work. It is like it's like you're falling in love with yourself. You're getting to know you and how you work. It's the coolest thing. So that's another good reframe. If people be scared, if people are scared, you're learning your heart. My stomach in my sessions, my intestines would start to gurgle, and it was like embarrassing, like when your stomach's like, and my practitioner I worked with before I was trained is like, I'm like, oh, sorry, like that. Oh, I didn't think I said sorry. I was just like, oh, she's like, oh no, that's good. Yeah, that's normal. I'm like, what do you mean? She goes, that's parasympathetic. You came down the mountain.
Ooh, we like that.
Digestion comes back on. So if you're not sleeping well and you're having tummy issues, this work, killer. So good. And okay, so back to Chase's question too. Thank you. No, thank you, Karlee, for answering that so eloquently and beautifully. It reminds me when I listen to like the law of attraction. There's like a scale of emotions, right? And at the top of the mountain being like anger and rage. And then you might get down to like, what's in the middle, where like in the middle is like, just like being happy or maybe being a little jealous but it's better than the intensity of the anger and rage. But then you go down the mountain further, and at the bottom of that list is like the joy and the elation, and like you can't go from a 10 to a 1. And I'm glad you said that, because if you can just get yourself down to a 5, like you can make your way to those better feeling emotions. And that might have been sorry to interrupt you, but that might have been an exaggeration. Maybe I went to an 8 first, and a 7 and a 6. So let's say, I like analogies with this kind of work. Let's say you have 100. Okay, I was going to say you're 300 pounds. I don't know. You have 100 pounds to lose, maybe 300, depending on how much work you want to do. You don't think of losing 100 pounds in a month. That's not healthy. You would probably advise people a plan. We'll lose 5 pounds. But here's the thing. Don't think about the numbers and how you're losing it. Just know you're feeling better a little bit at a time. Because with weight loss, I know I don't know if that's the best analogy, because that can be discouraging, right? If you don't feel or see the results. However, I learned with trauma, if I just felt a little bit better, I just kept going. And then I got to the 5 pretty quick. And then the 4, so little steps at a time, because if you're a ball of energy, the goal, it's like a helium balloon and you're letting it out. Yeah. If you let all the air out fast, what does the balloon do? Right. We don't want that. We just want little, right? And
I
when you
love
take that,
that.
you take the pressure off.
Yeah.
And your nervous
Yeah.
system feels that. And it goes, oh.
Uh, so I just had this question pop into my head, Karlee.
I love it.
From what you just said. Let's talk about like the span of time it takes to heal things. Like I know people have said, and I've experienced this going down to Peru and like drinking the sacred plant medicine ayahuasca, that was like 10 years of therapy in like one night, just like dealt with it. Would you say that somatic experiencing is similar? Like I believe it's like you're kind of fast tracking this process. It's not like a 10-year sit on a sofa and tell a therapist you're blah blah blah, like relive your problems and keep them in your vortex, right?
Beautiful.
You're actually like moving through this energy. Would you say, I mean, it definitely lies somewhere in between an intense ayahuasca experience and 10 years of therapy, but it's like
that's what I was gonna say. I was gonna say it's probably somewhere in the middle.
Yeah.
Exactly. Oh, or less than. You know, I think maybe it's okay. I got to do in front of about, I don't know, 400 or 500 people, a live session with Peter Levine. He was working on me. Oh my gosh. I was up on stage with a huge audience, and this is in my training. So I asked him after, because I think I was getting towards the end of my training and I was still releasing a lot of energy. My body would tighten. Just to give people an example, you know, he starts asking me, what do you notice right now? My heart was racing because I was nervous. However, that brought up what I needed. My arms started to tighten. So you work with the body and those sensations. Anyways, let me cut to the end. I know it's a really fun story. However, let me answer this. So after we were walking and I said, when is it over? When am I done? I feel so much better, but there's still stuff coming up. Like, when is this over? And he looks at me and he's like, oh, honey, it's never done. You can help me with my OCD. And that was like, oh, my ego is quickly trying to figure out when I'm done instead of just enjoying how far I've come. Ooh, that rhymed. That was good. That's a bumper sticker. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I heard that and it calmed me down. However, don't give up. Do you want to live with an anxiety at a 3? I didn't. I wanted it down to here. Let me say one thing. Sorry if I'm going fast, but this is important. Even if anxiety goes down to a 1 or it's gone a 0. If I go out in life now and something happens that isn't good, that signal, it doesn't turn to anxiety because I listen to that signal and I take care of myself quicker. So you can prevent anxiety. So it can go away. Yes, I've seen. I don't get anxiety anymore. I get action. I don't like what someone said to me. I don't feel good in my body. If I don't do something, it will manifest as anxiety. Is that clear? Okay.
Totally clear. Totally clear. Oh, this has just been the best conversation, Karlee.
Oh, I know. But did we answer the time frame one? Yeah. I think it's,
that's true. It's a journey. Like your healing process is a journey. It's not a one and done. Like, and that's the beauty of it. That's hard sometimes, but that's also the beauty of this life process and our souls coming here to earth to like learn these lessons and do this work.
And I think keep the belief. I talked to somebody the other day in Europe and they were like, I don't want to work hard for years. I want this to be over now. I think because I told him my course is like a 3-month program. He's like, I don't want to do 3 months. Can I do it faster? I want it done. And I guess my answer to that is let's just not be attached to time. All you know is you want to feel better. So that's how I looked at it. If I was talking to a certain person or doing a certain thing and I felt better, keep doing that. If whatever you're doing is not working, do something else. That's
totally. Yeah. I mean, that's like quantum healing, right? Like a quantum shift and you're healed. So it can happen in an instant and it can happen in 10 years. It can happen in any time.
Totally.
I'm glad we touched on that. Yeah. And Karlee, I would love for you to also tell people about your 3-month program. Let's hear about that. Yeah.
Okay. Well, it's everything we're pretty much talking about is in there. And it's 12 modules. So you basically, it's laid out on your computer where you click on, lesson 1, and there's education and then an exercise. So it's what do I need to learn? And then what do I do? And it's video and audio and PDF. So it's laid out and I guide you. And it includes a one-on-one with me because we need live, and then there's weekly group calls with other people in the course. So we feel supported and hold accountability for each other every week. So you're not alone. You're with the group doing the same work. You're with me. There's only so many spaces a month because I want to be there for people. But it's,
Yeah.
gosh, what else can I say? It's getting everything we talked about, getting all that ick out and being free of it. And it can happen. So that the reason why I picked 3 months, I'm not sure how long you work with people, but I noticed that's like a magic number when I've done weekly sessions with someone.
Yeah.
So instead of coming to see me weekly for 3 months, I thought, give it in a course where people can do it on their own time at home. No rush. Some weeks you do more, some weeks you do less because your body's going through what it is. And after 3 months, you're more solid in yourself. The work is still going. Like I have a girl that just finished. She's like, I'm going to do it again. I can't wait to do it again and do it on this, because she's releasing. And it's like, we're like onions with layers.
Totally.
However, a good point of the course that she asked is, when she released energy around one trauma, it can, like I think you brought up something like this, it can cover like 10 traumas. I'm just making an analogy. Like you release something, it's like a diet. If you, let's say, have some toxins in your body and you cleanse, you're not just getting one toxin out, you're getting a lot.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
it's, again, you stay out of your head. Whatever's surfacing, we work with.
I love that.
Yeah. So it's 3 months, but the work will continue after. You'll just have all the tools to know how to do it on your own. Cause that's life. Like who doesn't face a challenging situation? I do now. I just have a really awesome, it's funny. I see people with tool belts, like workers, like with their, or nurses or doctors, right? They have their flashlights or their guns or their whatever. That feel like you have that tool belt. You could just pop some out and be like, I got this.
Like, like quick on the draw.
Yeah.
Totally. Okay. I love that even more. Like I said, I love actionable steps. I love tools. I love, being able to access that in the moment, because that's that choice point. That's that point where things shift, is that space between the stimulus or the trigger and that reaction that we're typically just comes so quick, so
beautifully said. It's finding healthy reactions, and that takes practice. You have to heal yourself first to know what is my reaction in this moment. Maybe it's to say nothing at all and I sit on it. Ooh, that feels uncomfortable, but that's smart, because now I know what I want to do instead of just reacting with anger. Or I love the way you said that. This is so awesome. I know. I'm trying to think if there's anything else we need to cover. We're going fast.
I know. Well, typically 40 minutes is about the point, where I bring things to a close. So we're like right on time. But Karlee, it's been so lovely. It's so beautiful to watch you blossom and grow and watch what you're putting out online. For anyone who wants to follow, Karlee is on Instagram. She's more present on Facebook. I would definitely go and follow her there. And then check out her webinar tomorrow. So people can register tomorrow. How can they find your link? Is it on Facebook?
I would say I'm on both social media platforms, probably equally. The Facebook, I was going to say that I'm more on, is the Facebook group called Moving Forward from Trauma, because those are the people that are coming into my world that ask for help. So moving forward from trauma. I guess I could put, on Instagram, that's my name, right? Karlee.Holden. And the link to register is in my bio if they want to come to the webinar. That's easy, right?
Okay. Awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome. Yeah. Let's do it. So head over to the link in Karlee's bio. And thank you everyone who watched this and who's tuning in, watching the replay. Thank you for continuing to do your work, showing up, shining your light, helping others to do the same. Like, we need to keep going. Now is not the time to stop. Rest, yes, but like we need to have the fortitude and the grit and the compassion and the love to keep going, keep doing this work. So,
and support each other too. One thing can I add about the younger youth in our world?
Yes.
If you're a parent, this is one thing, and I'm going to add this to my course. I'm going to keep adding on to it. I went and talked to my daughter's 7th grade class. I think I was telling you about the other day. And if you're a parent or you're around kids, it doesn't matter. Kids and teens benefit from us doing this work. And then now, so I got to go talk to 13-year-olds and teach them tools of how to prevent bullying, or if they're upset or their parents are fighting. They shared so much with me what they can do to release that energy. So we're trauma-proofing our kids, which means creating a better world.
Oh, that gave me goosebumps. Yes, Karlee.
Come on, adults. Let's do it.
Yes.
We heal, the kids will heal.
Oh, big blessings to you. I'm so happy that we got this time together, and I hope to see you next time you're down in San Diego or I'm up in Santa Cruz. Let's make it happen, okay?
I love you. Oh, I'm going to interview you next on my channel.
Awesome. Awesome.
Oh, I love you so much. Thank you. And thank you everyone for being here. I wish I could see everybody's face in person, but maybe sometime.
Yeah, awesome. Okay, thank you, Karlee. Thank you,
you.
everybody.
Thank you.
Wishing you all a beautiful day.
Bye.
Bye-bye.